Today I just woke up, just remembering the day my brother left the earth. One breezy evening, my best friend Fraaz Khan and I were exiting the cinema when the call came. We'd just seen a film, one of those forgettable ones that dissolves into the fog of memory, leaving behind no trace, no image, no line of dialogue worth holding on to. Only the weight of what happened after remains. It was my mother on the call. This was during the time, do you remember when Vodacom Lesotho still offered those international calling bundles? With something that I thought was a strange small mercy, really. They allowed her voice to reach me more easily when I was far away from home, in that cold, alien place where I was trying to become something, trying to chase the dream of art, of cinema, of meaning. The call. At first, I heard a crackle, only a crackle. Somehow, both the crackle of distance and the crackle of destiny, of maybe the crackle of doom. It was a crackle that sounded like the universe itself hesitating before delivering a big blow. Then came the sound of my mother's breathing, soft and even heavy with the burden she carried across the oceans and mountains and wires. But no words, only breath, only that horrible human sound of someone holding something unspeakable inside of her. And fear struck, fear pure and blinding, like a hand gripping my heart. Something was wrong, incredibly wrong. My friend Fraaz, walking beside me towards his small Honda Civic, noticed. He didn't speak Sesotho, but language wasn't necessary. Some things transcend speech. He saw it in my face, in the way my hand shook holding the phone, in the way I stopped walking. Meh, are you there? Meh, what's going on? Meh, are you alright? Why are you breathing like that? I asked. And then her voice broke through. Wanaga, it's about your brother. A pause. The kind of pause that splits life into two parts, the before and the after. Meh, what's wrong with him? What's the problem? That's what I asked. And she just said, he's gone. Two words, final. Like a stone dropped into a well so deep you never hear it hit the bottom. That statement, too final, too finished, too heavy, hung in the air of that car in that parking lot on that night that would never end, no matter how many mornings came after it. I remember sitting in the passenger seat, silent, staring out at nothing as we drove back to Rustic Village, the small apartment complex where I lived. The place that had tried so hard to become a home but failed. At that time, I was in the middle of developing my thesis film. It was all I had, the work, the dream, the one thing that kept me tethered to some version of the world that still made sense. I hadn't seen my brother for 2 years. 2 years. The day before I left to pursue my studies abroad, my brother had read aloud an entry from his journal, his parting gift, in front of family who had gathered to pray for me, to bless my journey, to say their goodbyes. And he said, for fangwaneso, for fa ufumane, seo o se labalabelang. Like, fly, my brother, fly higher and reach whatever it is that you're looking for. And I did, I flew, but I flew so far that when the gods turned their faces away, when death came and my brother's body betrayed him, his most trusted organs faltering, failing, I wasn't there. I wasn't there to hold his hand, to look into his eyes, to say goodbye, to return the gift he had given me with his words. And the funeral happened without me, you know. There is nothing in this world more alienating than grieving across an ocean. A heavy blanket of grief knocked at the door of my apartment. I heard its knock. I felt its cold breath at the keyhole, but I said, "Not now. Go away." I refused grief. I poured myself into my thesis film, into my work, poured every last ounce of energy into the work, into camera angles, into sound design, into the fragile scaffolding of my project that was, I think now, the only thing that kept me upright. But grief doesn't go away when you ask it to. Grief is patient, grief has claws. In the quiet hours when the editing was closed, when the cameras went off, when the work couldn't save me, I heard it breathing beside me. I felt its hand on my shoulder. And in those hours, I played a song on repeat. The song was called Names and Races by a band called Foreign Fields. My brother and I could have written those words ourselves. It was as if someone had eavesdropped on our most vulnerable conversations, our shared promises, our secret fears. And the song says, "You set me down and told me we'd be alright. You said we were the only good guys, that we carried the light in our aching bodies." That we carried the light in our aching bodies, down, down, down. And then the part that caught the deepest, I asked if you would leave me. You said you would never go, but you lie there still, in your dying body. I ran from grief, but no matter how far I ran, it found me. Some nights it struck like lightning, sudden, violent, leaving me in pieces, gasping, drowning in memories. I would see his face, my brother, clear as day, smiling at me like he always did, as if to say, "It's all right, I'm still here." But he wasn't. And in those moments, I would feel ashamed for not being there, ashamed for trying to outrun the one thing I owed him, my mourning. There were nights when I stood at my apartment window, looking out at the cities in different lights, whispering his name as if the night could carry it back to him. And I thought how he used to sit by the radio, tuning into those old Radio Lesotho broadcasts, such as Heart and Soul by Lesotho Lesupi, and then humming along with the hymns our mother loved. He affectionately referred to her as Motswetsi. And I thought of his laugh, the way it filled a room and made even the saddest day feel like something we could survive. I remembered the way he would nudge me in church, both of us trying not to laugh at the choir's off-key notes. The way we shared secrets, glances, hopes, the way we believed, truly believed, that we would grow old side by side. But I flew, and he stayed. And then he left quietly before I could come home. What I want you to know is this: grief comes whether you welcome it or not. You can pour yourself into work, into distractions, into the small rituals of survival, but eventually it sits beside you, patient, waiting for you to turn your head and see it for what it is. And so I grieve. At last, I grieve. I grieve for my brother who wished me flight, but never got to see me land. I grieve for the years we lost, for the words we never spoke, for the embrace that distance and death denied us. And as I say this now, not because it will heal me, no, writing doesn't do that, but because it's the only way I know how to say, I remember my brother, I remember you, my brother, I always will.